A young woman walks out of a hotel in downtown Los Angeles on a cool January evening in 1947, telling the clerk she's meeting her sister for dinner. She's wearing black, her dark hair perfectly styled, her smile bright with possibility. 6 days later, a mother walking with her daughter in a quiet residential neighborhood spots what she thinks is a discarded department store mannequin lying in a vacant lot. She moves closer and realizes with horror that it's not a mannequin at all. It's the severed body of that same young woman, posed with disturbing precision, drained completely of blood, and mutilated in ways that would haunt investigators for decades. Her name was Elizabeth Short, but the world would come to know her as the Black Dahlia, and her murder remains one of the most infamous unsolved cases in American history. More than 75 years later, we're still asking what really happened, and the answers might be hiding in plain sight. Welcome back to Crime Scout, True Stories. The Black Dahlia case has generated hundreds of theories, dozens of confessions, and countless books claiming to solve the mystery. But when you strip away the sensationalism and look at the actual evidence, a very different picture emerges, one that law enforcement may have deliberately obscured. Elizabeth Short was born in 1924 in Hyde Park, Massachusetts. Her childhood was marked by tragedy when her father faked his own suicide and abandoned the family during the Great Depression. Elizabeth grew up poor but dreamed of Hollywood stardom. In 1943, at age 19, she moved to California, chasing the same dream as thousands of other young women. She was strikingly beautiful with pale skin, dark hair, and blue eyes. She loved wearing black clothing, which combined with her dark hair earned her the nickname Black Dahlia, a reference to the film noir movie The Blue Dahlia that had been popular the previous year. Elizabeth never broke into movies. Instead, she drifted through Southern California, staying with various friends and acquaintances, working occasional jobs, and dating servicemen. She was known for her strict morals. Several friends insisted she didn't drink and maintained her virginity, planning to save herself for marriage. By January 1947, she was essentially homeless, moving between temporary accommodations and relying on the kindness of people she'd met. On January 9, she checked out of the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, telling staff she was meeting her sister. She was never seen alive again. On the morning of January 15, 1947, Betty Berzinger was walking with her 3-year-old daughter in the Leimert Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. At approximately 10 a.m., she noticed what appeared to be a broken mannequin in a vacant lot on South Norton Avenue. As she got closer, the horrific truth became clear. It was a woman's body, but unlike any crime scene investigators had encountered. The body had been severed cleanly at the waist, the two halves positioned about a foot apart. The corpse had been completely drained of blood and washed clean. The face bore cuts from the corners of the mouth toward the ears, creating a grotesque smile. There were rope marks on the wrists, ankles, and neck. Sections of flesh had been removed from the thighs and breasts. Most disturbing to investigators was the precision of it all. This wasn't frenzied violence. This was methodical, controlled, almost surgical. The crime scene yielded almost no physical evidence. No blood in the soil, confirming the body had been killed and mutilated elsewhere and dumped at this location. No fingerprints, no fibers, no witnesses. The body had been posed deliberately, almost displayed. Someone wanted it found. The LAPD launched what became one of the largest investigations in the department's history. Fingerprints from the body were sent to the FBI, and within hours, Elizabeth Short was identified through prints on file from a previous arrest for underage drinking. Detectives began retracing her final days. They learned she'd been seen at the Biltmore Hotel on January 9, but after that, 6 days of her life were completely unaccounted for. Where had she been? Who had she been with? What happened during those missing days? The investigation became a circus. The press sensationalized every detail, often fabricating quotes and stories. The LAPD was overwhelmed with tips, confessions, and theories. Over 50 people confessed to the murder, all proven false. The case attracted every attention seeker, conspiracy theorist, and disturbed individual in the country. Sorting truth from fiction became impossible. Several suspects emerged over the years, some more credible than others. George Hodel, a wealthy physician, became a prime suspect decades later when his own son, former LAPD detective Steve Hodel, accused him of the murder. George Hodel lived in a mansion in Los Feliz, had surgical skills that matched the precision of the mutilations, and was known to have violent tendencies. Steve Hodel presented evidence that LAPD had actually surveilled his father in 1950, planting listening devices in the house. Recordings allegedly captured George Hodel making incriminating statements, though the recordings have never been made fully public. The LAPD's district attorney at the time considered George Hodel a viable suspect but never had enough evidence to prosecute. Another suspect was Mark Hansen, a nightclub and theater owner who Elizabeth had stayed with briefly. Hansen was questioned extensively and became defensive, but nothing concrete linked him to the murder. Robert "Red" Manley was the last person known to have seen Elizabeth alive. He'd driven her to the Biltmore Hotel on January 9. Manley was interrogated aggressively, even given sodium pentothal truth serum, but he passed multiple polygraph tests and was eventually cleared. Some researchers believe the killer was never seriously investigated because he was protected. There are persistent theories that the murderer was someone with connections to law enforcement, the media, or Los Angeles high society. The precision of the crime, the complete lack of physical evidence, and the way the body was displayed suggest someone with knowledge of police procedures. The fact that the crime scene was so clean, that Elizabeth had been held somewhere for up to 6 days, tortured, murdered, and meticulously mutilated, all points to someone with resources, privacy, and expertise. One of the most chilling pieces of evidence came days after the body was discovered. On January 24, the Los Angeles Examiner received a package containing Elizabeth Short's belongings, her birth certificate, social security card, photographs, and an address book with several pages torn out. The items had been carefully cleaned with gasoline to remove fingerprints. A note made from cut-out newspaper letters read, "Here is Dahlia's belongings, letter to follow." The promised letter never came, but the package proved the killer was following the media coverage and taunting investigators. The medical evidence raises disturbing questions about what Elizabeth endured before death. The coroner determined she'd been alive during much of the mutilation, held captive and tortured. The cause of death was hemorrhage and shock from the lacerations to the face, combined with blows to the head. The bisection of the body occurred after death. The complete blood drainage suggested the body had been suspended upside down, a procedure requiring equipment and knowledge. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was sadistic and calculated. Over the decades, theories have ranged from the plausible to the absurd. Some claim it was a serial killer who was never connected to other crimes. Others insist it was a botched abortion that was covered up. Some point to organized crime connections. A few even suggest it was multiple killers working together. The truth is, without DNA evidence, which doesn't exist for this case, we may never have definitive proof. What we do know is that someone got away with one of the most brutal murders in American history. Someone who had the means, the motive, and the opportunity to abduct, torture, murder, and display Elizabeth Short's body. Someone who was either incredibly lucky or incredibly connected. The LAPD's handling of the case has been criticized for decades. Evidence was mishandled, suspects weren't properly investigated, and the media circus contaminated potential leads. Whether through incompetence or deliberate protection of a powerful suspect, the investigation failed. Elizabeth Short was 22 years old when she died. She wanted to be an actress, to be famous, to matter. She achieved a terrible kind of fame, but not the kind she dreamed of. She became a symbol of Los Angeles noir, of Hollywood's dark underbelly, of beautiful young women destroyed by a city of broken dreams. But before she was the Black Dahlia, she was Betty, a young woman trying to survive, trying to find love and success in a city that chewed up and spit out thousands just like her. The case remains officially unsolved. The LAPD still receives tips, though the chances of solving it after more than 7 decades are virtually zero. Everyone directly involved is long dead. But the questions persist. Who killed Elizabeth Short? Where was she held during those 6 missing days? Why was her body displayed so publicly? And perhaps most importantly, who protected the killer? This has been Crime Scout, True Stories. Some mysteries endure not because we can't solve them, but because someone made sure we wouldn't. Elizabeth Short deserves better than to be remembered only for the horrific way she died. She deserves justice, and she deserves her name back. Subscribe for more cases where the truth is still waiting to be found.